Um, I think the gentleman is live or something. Live on himself. I think the gentleman is live. I think the gentleman is live or something. Live on himself. Though we may have wanted to come last night, but we realized that the second deputy president, Honorable Rigathi, needed a lot of time with the doctors. But this morning, we are privileged that Dr. Gachagua has allowed some of us to see him. I have been able to see him along with Dr. Eugene Wamalwa and Senator Nyutu on behalf of the senators who are here. And so we thank God that he looks stable, and of course it is upon the doctors to continue concluding the investigations that they were doing. So that is what we can say as of now. We all watched what happened in the Senate, and some of you may have seen the interview that I conducted on Citizen Television, where I predicted that things were going to move very, very fast. The whole thing predetermined. I once was Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and one of the worst mistakes you can make as a legislator is to anticipate debate. The whole National Assembly anticipated the outcome of the deliberations of the Senate. But we want to thank the senators, we want to thank the legal, as has been said, it is historic, and it's all because of Constitution 2010, which is why we are saying he is the second deputy president. Even as we speak, he is still deputy president. So I was the 10th vice president. Eugene Wamalwa, the elder brother, was what version was it? The eighth. The eighth. So these things are important. It's part of our history. It's part of our heritage as a people. And we are in the process of consolidating our nationhood as a country within the community of nations. But what happened in the Senate last night was, as historic as it was, it had serious flaws. And clearly, I think Kenyans should expect a protracted legal arguments, because we didn't even discuss this with the Honorable Gachagua, but we are aware that his teams have already moved to court. It's expected. And as senior counsel, I can tell you that you cannot, the law of natural justice demands that no person, man or woman, shall be condemned unheard. And it was all there. Senior Counsel Paul Muite, leading a very strong team, were able to argue with regard to what the Constitution at Article 145 5B says. Before the vote, before the Senate took the vote, they could only do so after affording an opportunity to Deputy President to defend himself. There were other arguments, of course, by Senior Counsel Jim Orengo and Tienda Molo on the other side, and Gumbe. Yeah, so we respect all of that. But truth be told, this whole thing smacks of injustice, gross injustice, political manipulation, and all of us know this is a political trial. And therefore, once again, we want to thank the senators who stood firm on both sides. We can't condemn even those who voted for the impeachment. We can't condemn. They did what was their responsibility, regardless of what may have happened in the back rooms or wherever. And then the country continues to learn a lot from this impeachment process. So once again, we wish Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua very quick recovery, and we thank God that he has spared his life. He's the giver of life, and by his stripes, we believe that Gachagua will be healed. Kama kuna kitu mwenzangu angeongeza, anaweza kuongeza, and one senator maybe, the ones who are on the kwa Kiswahili ndio nikusema, basi nikusema kwamba tumemwona pata fursa ya kumwona Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, naibu wa rais wa awamu ya pili chini ya katiba 2010, na tunashukuru Mungu kwamba anaendelea vyema kulingana na ripoti ambayo tumepatiwa na madaktari, lakini bado ako na udhaifu, na kwa hivyo atunge hata kumzungumzia hata zaidi. Tunamtakia kila laheri, lakini huku tukizidi kumtakia uponyaji wa haraka, hatuna budi ila pia kuangazia yaliyofanyika jana kwa seneti. Tuwapongeza wale maseneta ambao walichukua msimamo wa kikatiba, lakini kama wanasheria, mimi mwenyewe najiunga wazi na yale ambayo Mheshimiwa Senior Counsel Paul Mwite aliyazungumzia juu ya ukiukaji wa sheria kikatiba na mambo yao, na haya maneno ni wazi yataangaziwa kindani sana kwa mahakama. And we continue to insist that the last line of defense for the future of this country remains our judiciary. So we want to urge that justice reign. Heavens may fall, but may justice reign. May justice reign in our courts. May there be men and women able to avoid a situation of state capture. As we have said, this country's economy is under state capture. We all have said it openly before that the legislature itself is under capture by the executive. And we will, as a people's loyal opposition, continue to talk to Kenyans, have conversations about that fearlessly, knowing that this is a country under God. My colleague can add something.
Comments of Senior Counsel Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, particularly on the issue of violation of the basic rules of natural justice. And he has said one of those basic principles of natural justice is that no one should be condemned unheard. Yesterday was a sad day for this country because His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, who had submitted himself to the jurisdiction of both houses of parliament and never missed a sitting, never was late, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate. And even when he was given the opportunity to sit as his charges were being read to him, he chose to face his accusers on his feet rather than on his knees. And he stood throughout the reading of the 11 charges. The last 2 weeks must have been very stressful for him. And as a human being, There's only so much stress you can take. His doctors have told us here today that when he was admitted here, he had serious chest pains. In fact, he had very high blood pressure. The stress he had gone through, he was short of getting a stroke. But they admitted him, they have managed him overnight. And we thank Dr. Gikonyo and his able team of doctors for the good care they have given His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. But for Parliament, if we ever doubted that our Parliament is under capture by the executive, a very overbearing executive, last night was our evidence. Our Parliament is dancing to the tune of the executive, both the National Assembly and the Senate. There was no reason why these proceedings could not have been postponed until Saturday. What was the hurry? When Speaker Kingi withdrew to his chambers, what were his instructions? We suspect and we believe he was told by stroke of midnight, you must be done with this man. And that is what happened. The law is clear, the rules are clear. If they had a special committee, they had 10 days. We do not have a limitation for the plenary. Why was the Senate hired to crucify this man and bury him politically? All we can suspect is that Mutuse was just a hired assassin on a mission, and that was evident throughout cross-examination. And we must thank His Excellency the Deputy President lawyers. They brought out the truth that, and this is what Senator Wambua asked Mutuse, whose motion is this? You could tell he was not the owner of the motion. He was just a gun for hire, and through cross-examination that became very evident. But today, apart from the principle of a man not being condemned and hard, especially when he's on his back in a hospital bed, the second principle that was broken by the House, which is a fundamental principle of natural justice, is that you shall not be a judge in your own cause. The rule of bias is a very basic principle of natural justice. Both speakers of the two houses had been mentioned as shareholders, beneficiaries of an arrangement in Kenya Kwanza. They are interested parties. And one of them had, in fact, before the matter appearing before him, Speaker Wetangula, I think, was in Machakos County, when he showed his bias on a matter coming before him, he had already pronounced himself as to what should happen to Rigathi Gachagua, who was going to appear before him. Open bias was shown by the Speaker, Wetangula, Deputy Speaker, Sholei, Majority Leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, the Chief Whip, Osoro, and there couldn't have been a fair trial for Rigathi. So today we want to say this, that as a country we missed an opportunity to showcase that we have one of the best constitutions, not in Africa, in the world, the most progressive. Last night it was being tested. As a country under the rule of law, we should have respected and observed the two principles, fundamental principles of natural justice, and we let our country down. However, all is not over. As His Excellency has said, our last line of defense is the judiciary. We pray and we hope, as His Excellency's team appears before court, they will do justice. And this is what the Senate should have done. They were not politicians last night. They were jurors. They were judges. They should have been fair. They should have allowed time for Gachagua to defend himself. But this will be a basic ground upon which I believe the decision of the House can be invalidated and justice shall be done. this, we want to say thank you to our senators, our leader, everything Azimio stands for. Our leader in the National Assembly, Honorable Robert Mbui, spoke for all of us as Azimio. But their counterparts in ODM spoke a different language. So today, even as we go forward, we can no longer pretend that we are like-minded. On impeachment, we did say this was not a priority for Kenya. Kenyans have more serious issues. Kenyans cannot take their kids to school because of the failed new funding model in our universities. Patients are dying because when you go to hospitals now, dialysis, you're being turned away. When you have no money, you're a poor person, you are condemned to death by William Ruto and his failed policy, Adani Shah. These are issues that even as we speak, as Azimio, we have differed, not just on this impeachment, not just on joining the broad-based government. We have also differed on Adani, and yesterday we were in court led by senior counsel. Kenyans will on 22nd of October see who is really fighting for them, because we'll be back in court to continue the fight against corruption.
In open court.
In open court, we will be there on 22nd. I welcome all Kenyans to come, but the matter as it rests today rests with the judiciary. Is the last line of defense, is our only arm of government that has not been captured, and we pray to God, because between this nation and disaster is the judiciary. That is our shield and defender.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe we hear Senator Kamau from Lamu.
Asante sana His Excellency Eugene Wamalwa kwa sababu ya kuweza kuandamana pamoja nasi. Tuko hapa katika Karen Hospital. Tumekuja hapa asubuhi ya leo kuja kuona His Excellency the Deputy President Gachagua, ambaye nyote mnajua kwamba kuanzia jana aliweza kuletwa hapa akiwa mgonjwa na anaendelea kupata matibabu. Tumeweza kuongea na daktari ambaye anamhudumia na amesema kwamba bado matibabu inaendelea na kwa sasa hawezi kuweza kuongea kwa sababu anaendelea na matibabu. Jambo nataka niseme ni kwamba jana mnajua vile ilitendeka ya kwamba naibu wa rais Gachagua alikuwa aweze kuingia katika bunge la Senate aweze kujitetea kutokana na mashtaka ambayo alikuwa amekelewa na Mtuse, na mnajua kwamba haikuwezekana kwa naibu wa rais kuja kujitetea kwa sababu aliweza kugonjeka kabla ya yeye kuja kujitetea katika jumba letu la Senate. Nataka niseme kwamba ni jambo ambalo lilihuzunisha zaidi kuona kwamba Mheshimiwa naibu wa rais aliweza kuhukumiwa bila kusikizwa. Hilo ni jambo ambalo limeweza kushangaza sana nchi yetu ya Kenya, kwa sababu sheria inasema kwamba kila mtu ako na haki ya kusikizwa. Kama umeshtakiwa uko na haki ya kujitetea, lakini tunaona kwamba hakupata nafasi na haki ya kujitetea. Sisi tuliweza mawakili wake waliweza kuomba nafasi apewe mpaka kesho siku ya Jumamosi aweze kuja kujitetea katika lile bunge, na baada ya sisi kujaribu kuunga jambo hilo mkono halikuwezekana. Waliendelea na kazi ambayo walikuwa wameamua kufanya, na nataka niseme ya kwamba tulijaribu kwa uwezo wetu lakini tulishindwa kwa sababu kule bunge ni numbers ambazo zinafanya kazi. Nataka niwashukuru sana wale senators wa kutoka mlengo wa Wiper Democratic Movement ambao walisimama na sisi katika hii vita ya kutetea naibu wa rais kutokana na mashtaka ambayo sisi tulipoyasoma tuliona kwamba ni mashtaka ambayo hayakuwa na mwelekeo, na walisimama na sisi na tuliweza kupambana vile tuliweza. Lakini tunasema kwamba tunaombea naibu wa rais afueni ya haraka wakati ambapo wanaendelea kupata matibabu katika hospitali ya hapa Karen Hospital, na anajua kwamba Mwenyezi Mungu ataweza kumsaidia na ataweza kutoka hospitali na ataendelea kuweza kufanya kazi yake. Mimi nataka niseme ya kwamba ni jambo ambalo ni la huzuni sana, maana mimi nawakilisha watu wa kaunti ya Lamu na waliniambia kwamba nisimame na naibu rais. Nilisimama na yeye mpaka mwisho kulingana na mujibu na haki ya watu wa kaunti ya Lamu. Nataka nishukuru sana watu ambao walinituma katika hili bunge la Senate kuwakilisha, na wanapotoa sauti ni wajibu wangu kama kiongozi kuona kwamba nimesimama na vile ambavyo wananchi wa kaunti ya Lamu wamenituma kufanya. Asante sana.
Asanteni. I think that's okay.
Naona tayari umetaja kuna brigade kama DP. Tayari kuna jina jingine ambalo limependekezwa na Rais William Ruto ambalo ni jina la DP. Hili linaweka watu kama taifa na kama wakili.
Kutajwa ni one thing na kuidhinishwa ni jambo lingine. Hivi tunavyozungumza, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua is the second deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, but we shall see what happens.